Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack incredible insights from, well, usually a stack of sources, just for you. Now, when you think about the Gulag Archipelago, the image that probably comes to mind is pretty stark, right? Endless suffering, total oppression, just crushing.
Absolutely, that's the common picture. And it's certainly rooted in a brutal reality.
But what if that's not the whole story? What if, even inside that horror, our sources actually reveal these moments, these almost islands, you could say, of surprising freedom?
Or even intellectual vibrancy and really deep human connection. It sounds paradoxical, I know.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at some really unique firsthand accounts, especially from islands of the Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah, and it's a perspective that doesn't just, describe the suffering. It really forces you to rethink things like resilience, what it even means to be alive when everything's stripped away.
So our mission today is to uncover these counterintuitive realities. We want to explore the paradoxes of that kind of life.
And really try to pull out the insights learned when, well, all the usual ways we measure freedom and happiness are just gone, turned completely upside down.
Get ready, because this might just challenge how you think about resilience, connection, maybe even your own values. Okay, so let's jump right in with one of the most surprising things from the sources. This idea of special convoy transport for prisoners.
Right.
It's described as the most unconstrained mode of transport, almost like regular free travel. I mean, how does that even happen? It seems completely at odds with everything we picture.
It really is jarring. You imagine the packed cattle cars, the brutality.
Exactly.
And then for just a few prisoners, it seems it was often on orders from someone high up, you get that special convoy.
Oh, yeah.
Our source actually calls it a miracle from beginning to end.
Wow.
Think about the psychological effects. Suddenly you're moving through a normal train station, people all around,
Yeah.
but you're still a prisoner.
Yeah.
You're like an incorporeal ghost among them.
Observing their everyday worries.
Yeah, worries that seem utterly trivial from your perspective. It really drives home that external freedom, and it doesn't mean much when your internal reality is just so radically different.
There's a story about Ernst Bernstein that really hits this home. He's on a special requisition, right?
Yes, that's a powerful one.
After all the usual horrible transport, he gets off at this tiny station.
Yeah.
And instead of guards and dogs,
Is met by just one guy, a single, calm, unarmed jailer.
who apparently just yawns and says something like, okay, stay at my place tonight. You can wander around town till morning. I'll take you to camp tomorrow.
Unbelievable. And he actually did go out. The source says he touched the leaves on the trees with unbelieving fingers and nearly wept.
Just that sudden, shocking taste of freedom. Almost disorienting, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And the author himself talks about this feeling on his own special trips. He'd listen to people's conversations on the train.
Yeah. What kind of stuff?
Oh, strange and insignificant things. Complaints about someone not wiping their feet, mother-in-law problems, apartment squabbles.
Everyday stuff.
Exactly. And he felt this unbridgeable chasm, like he understood the true measure of things in the universe. While these people, these sinners, as he calls them, just thought they were alive but didn't really grasp it.
So the imprisonment itself became this weird kind of re-education.
In a way, yeah. A harsh one, obviously. But it created this profound sense of maybe spiritual alienation from the free world, which paradoxically made him feel more authentically alive in some sense.
He even describes a specific train journey, doesn't he? Being told to just behave naturally.
Yes. Sits next to some moon-faced fellow who offers him a beer.
And he drinks it, even with guards nearby.
He drinks it. And then he gets into this conversation with an MVD man, a secret police guy.
Seriously?
Yeah, and the MPD guy starts complaining about how hard his service is.
Oh, the irony.
Right. So the author, he decides to push back a little. He asks him, essentially, okay, but what about the people you're guarding? The ones with 10 years for nothing? Is it any easier for them?
Wow. What did the guard say?
Nothing. The account says he immediately subsided and remained silent until morning.
Huh. Just silenced him.
It's this incredible moment, right? This brief shift where the prisoner, with just a simple moral question, kind of disarms the symbol of his oppression. Fleeting, but powerful.
Okay, so from that strange travel freedom, the sources then talk about actual paradise islands inside the Gulag, the Sharashkas, described as places with mental work, clean conditions, even abundant food, rivers of milk and honey and eggs and sour cream. How on earth did places like that exist within the Gulag system?
Well, they were special prisons, essentially, for scientists and engineers. The state needed their brains for certain projects, so they created these well, relatively privileged environments to make them work.
And the author ended up in one. How?
Pure, unbelievable luck. Or maybe desperation. On a Gulag registration card in 1946, he just wrote down nuclear physicist.
Even though he wasn't one?
Nope. Said he'd never been a nuclear physicist in my life.
Yeah.
But this was right when the Soviets were desperate to build the bomb.
So that one, almost random act.
It saved him. Led him straight to the Sharashkas. It's a stark reminder, I think, that even in the most rigid, crushing systems, sometimes pure chance or maybe a bold lie can open up these unexpected paths to survival.
And it wasn't just the Sharashkas offering relative relief. He talks about Buturki prison.
Ah, yes, the Buturki Health Resort.
Quite the nickname. But compared to the labor camps, he says it offered whole days just for sleeping.
Which sounds incredible in that context. Sleep becomes this huge luxury.
And the food, while basic cattle feed or dolphin flesh, was regular. 1.5 pounds of bread, 2 hot meals, much better than starving in a camp.
And his thoughts on sleep there are really profound. He says something like, when you were asleep, you weren't spending strength, you weren't tormenting your heart, and your sentence kept passing.
Wow.
It's the opposite of how we often see sleep in normal life, right? Sometimes it's wasted time. But there, he says, bless you, 14 hours of sleep. It was pure contentment.
So again, extreme deprivation just completely reshapes your idea of happiness. Basic needs become these incredible luxuries.
Exactly. And sleep was also a form of escape, a way to just let the time pass without the conscious suffering.
Okay, now let's shift to cell 75. Picture this. 80 people crammed into a cell meant for 25. Hot, stuffy flies buzzing. Sounds horrific.
It does. Utterly grim.
And yet, the sources say this hellhole somehow became a scientific and technical society. How does that even happen?
It's pretty amazing. And apparently it had a president, Professor Timofeyev Rosovsky.
Who is he?
A major figure. A biologist described as one of the most important geneticists at our time. His own story is wild.
Go on.
Sent abroad by the Soviets in the 1920s to groundbreaking work in Germany, refused Stalin's order to return in 1937. Then, when the Soviet army arrived in 1945, he welcomed them with open arms.
And they
promptly arrested him. 10 years. Just like that.
Unbelievable. And he becomes president of the Cell Science Society.
That's right. And this is where the author's nuclear physicist bluff comes up again.
Ah, they made him give a report.
Exactly. His first scientific report. He had to lecture on nuclear physics using an empty cigarette pack as his blackboard.
Oh, my God. In front of this world-class biologist.
And Timofey Rosovsky, even though he's a biologist and had already been locked up for a year, he jumps right in, sketching, asking questions, commenting. The author says it was as if he had been a physicist from the Los Alamos group itself.
That hunger for knowledge is refusing to die even there.
It's incredible. And this kind of exchange was helped by what the author calls the prisoner's telegraph system.
What was that, like actual tapping on pipes?
Sometimes, maybe, but mostly it was just intense observation, sharp memory, piecing together scraps of information from new arrivals, chance encounters during transfer.
So information just spread.
Yeah. He mentions learning the location of some Arctic aviator, Makotkin, or finding out his own destination this way. It made the vast Gulag feel weirdly small, he says. The world is small, very small indeed, in that context. Shows incredible resourcefulness building these information networks just to survive.
And it wasn't just science, right? Cell 75 had a cultural life, too.
Astonishingly vibrant. Evenings were packed. Lectures on Italy, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Discussions about the architect Le Corbusier, habits of bees, analyses of the writer Gogol.
Wow. And poetry.
Yes. He mentions a prisoner named Kostya Kula reciting his own prison verses. The author writes, "These verses are the blood of your own heart, the tears of your own wife." Apparently the whole cell was weeping.
Just raw emotion, shared experience.
It's powerful. It shows that even when you strip everything else away, physical comfort, freedom, basic necessities, the deep human need for knowledge, for culture, for shared understanding, it doesn't just survive. Sometimes it seems to burn even brighter.
An incredible testament to the human spirit, really.
Absolutely. It tells us these drives are fundamental, not easily crushed.
Cell 75 wasn't just about high-minded discussion, though. There were some pretty startling encounters, too.
Oh, definitely. He mentions this swarthy little fellow.
Yeah. What was his deal? At first, he's just collecting trade union dues or something.
Right, seems harmless enough. Then, totally out of the blue, he reveals who he really is. An intelligence officer of the Romanian General Staff, Lieutenant Vladimir Esco.
A real spy.
A real spy. And his specialty, He tells the author it was cutting the main cord of a parachute on the inside. Said he destroyed maybe 2,000 parachutes that way.
Good grief, that's chilling.
The author notes his cherry-like eyes sparkled with malice. He's suddenly face-to-face with someone who casually admits he wouldn't hesitate for a moment to gun someone down or cut their throat.
What did that do to the author's perspective?
It must have been a shock. This spy also believed he'd never be wasted, that he was too valuable. A real spy is a gold mine, he apparently said. It just threw the sheer diversity of people trapped in the system into sharp relief. You aren't just with political prisoners, you were with, well, anyone.
Thrown together with hardened criminals, spies, everyone.
Exactly. It forces you to confront a whole spectrum of humanity you'd likely never meet otherwise.
And then there was the encounter with the younger prisoners, the new generation, he calls them.
Right. A stark contrast to the returning soldiers like himself.
He mentions a Democratic Party formed by kids, like 100 boys, with statutes and membership cards, even in Lubyanka.
Yeah, these young guys were different. People like Boris Gamborov, wounded war hero, biology student, or Georgy Engel, a writer arrested basically for defending his teacher.
And how did they challenge the author?
They went right after his core beliefs, particularly his Marxism. The sources say they attacked Lev Tolstoy, for example, for rejecting the church, the Bible, the state, for dismissing the power of individuals in history.
So they weren't beaten down by prison at all.
Quite the opposite. For them, it seems imprisonment was this radicalizing fire. It forged this incredibly defiant, independent way of thinking. They weren't just victims. They were active thinkers, challenging the status quo, even the author's own long-held beliefs.
There's that specific moment about Roosevelt's prayer, isn't there?
Yes. Gamborov asks him point blank, "Why do you not admit the possibility that a political leader might sincerely believe in God?"
And that hit the author hard.
Deeply. He describes it as coming from a clean, pure feeling. And it made him realize his own conviction, his atheism, maybe wasn't purely his own thought, but something implanted from outside.
A real moment of self-reckoning, then, sparked by this young idealist.
Absolutely. It shows how in that intense environment, away from normal societal pressures, you could have these really honest internal confrontations. Dogma could fall away. And these young prisoners, their whole attitude was summed up when they said, "We do not need your leniency. We are not languishing from imprisonment. We are proud of it."
Proud of it. That's astonishing. Such intellectual independence, even defiance.
It really is. A profound sense of internal freedom, even in chains.
But of course, not all parts of the Gulag were like Cell 75 or the Sharashkas. There were the church cells in Buturki.
A very different story.
Okay.
A stark, bleak contrast. These were for the outcasts, the stepsons of the prison system.
Describe them. What were they like?
Grim, rotten, unplaned gray boards, covering the windows like muzzles. No books allowed, no chests, nothing. Just shared, dented aluminum bowls for food. Pure deprivation.
Now, getting parcels from family. That sounds particularly degrading.
Horribly so. Food wasn't handed over properly. It was apparently just poured and scraped out of their cans, pushed through a swill trough in the cell door.
Into what?
Into whatever the prisoner had. And in the church cells, they had nothing. So they just get it poured into their cupped hands, straight into their mouths, maybe caught in a handkerchief or the flap of their coat.
Utterly dehumanizing.
Systematically so. It just shows the calculated cruelty, stripping away every last shred of dignity.
But even there was a tiny sliver of something. A special privilege.
A grim one. 3 times a day, they had to go fetch their own watery gruel.
How is that a privilege?
Because it meant they got to get out into the green yard one more time and hear the birds singing.
Ah, just that brief moment outside.
Even though it was heavy labor for men already weak from starvation, it was still a connection, however fleeting, to the outside world, to nature.
And these cells were transient, right? People coming and going constantly.
Constantly. Day and night, people were brought in and taken away singly, and by tens.
Yeah.
Made it almost impossible to form lasting connections.
So if you did meet someone interesting,
you had to talk to them immediately. Ask your questions right then and there. Because, as the author puts it, otherwise you would miss out for good and all.
Wow. That sense of urgency, the preciousness of any human contact.
It really underscores how vital that connection is, even fleetingly, especially in an environment designed to isolate and break you.
So we've traveled through some really unexpected places today, these strange islands within the Gulag.
Yeah, from the bizarre freedom of those special convoys.
To the intense intellectual life in the Sharashkas and even Cell 75.
And then down to the brutal reality of the church cells.
These accounts, they just reveal so much about the human spirit, don't they? That capacity to adapt, to endure,
Hmm.
to hold on to dignity, find meaning, even find truth when absolutely everything is taken away.
And the author himself distills this down to a really powerful insight, something that feels universal, I think.
What's that?
He says, basically, do not pursue what is illusory, property and position. All that stuff you spend decades building up with your nerves frayed.
Yeah.
It can be confiscated in one fell night.
So what should we prize?
He says, prize those who love you and who wish you well. Simple as that. It really makes you ask yourself, what does it mean to be truly alive? And how can deprivation somehow, paradoxically, make life's deepest riddles clearer?
The Gulag took everything. But maybe in doing that, for some at least, it forced this profound re-education about what actually matters.
Like those young prisoners declaring, we are not languishing, we are proud of it.
It leaves you with a challenging thought, doesn't it? How can terrible adversity, if you meet it with that kind of unbreakable spirit, actually turn external chains into a kind of internal freedom?
Revealing truths about our own worth, about meaning, that maybe we just don't see when life is comfortable. Something profound to think about.